Hey everyone, it's Behavior Hackers here. Victoria, Ingrid, and Yoni, in case you forgot. And we're doing a video about Joker. So hopefully today, by today, you would have watched it and there are no spoilers. But if you haven't, perhaps it's a good idea not to watch the movie before you watch this video. So
if you haven't watched the movie, stop watching this. Stop it. And if you have, you're welcome to come and hear a bit of behavioral analysis that we've done about the Joker. We particularly like this movie because I think, well, it's been one of the, it has had one of the highest incomes or like rating at the moment. It's almost like
about
the movie at itself. Yeah. And I think it also at the moment it's surpassed can't remember like some of the like biggest movies of that. Okay. Deadpool, I think it was.
I think
it surpassed
Deadpool.
Deadpool.
It has got a high IMDb.
And then we're talking about also that it's you want me to stop?
Yeah,
we can just cut this out. They're also talking about how this has become, because it's not only a superhero movie, but they touch so many deep issues that actually this seems to become these like iconic movies like The Shining and like this like cult movies that we're gonna keep seeing over and over again, and they're gonna grow really well over time.
I'm talking about mental health as well and the implications.
So I think we're gonna start. We want to make it super informal, and we want to start by asking basically our behavior analysts what their insights are and what they thought was interesting about the movie. So I want to start.
I have no notes, so I'll just try to. So all my feeling was all the way throughout the movie, I kept asking myself, like, is he imagining this? Is this happening? Is it real? So that's why I had like a lot of questions. Because I even now, like, I don't know some of the things. So shall I mention some of the things?
Go for it. We're already warned our viewers that if they haven't seen it, stop watching it. Cool. Last time.
Last chance. So for me, like, for example, one of the things, even when he finds out that he's adopted, that she's not his real mom and so on, like, I keep feeling like when they showed that bit when she was in when she was, they were accusing her of kind of inventing everything and stuff like that. And part of me was like, but maybe that guy got paid because, she was otherwise, I forgot his name. Bruce Wayne was the kid, but like his name, Howard Wayne?
The dad.
Yeah.
The dad.
Anyway,
John,
whatever, it doesn't matter.
We did watch the movie.
I think it's John Wayne.
Is it? Probably.
I don't know. My iPad just died.
Oh, okay.
Great.
So
no notes for you either.
Okay.
I think So Batman's dad.
Batman's dad. Yeah. Anyway, so like even that, I was thinking, but maybe they could have invented that because he didn't want his reputation to be tarnished and so on.
But like who invented what?
So like they came up with the certificate of adoption and
Oh,
all of that because I don't.
Wow.
I know. Fabricated.
I mean, it's really cool because we all watch this movie separately. I've watched it 2 times. Ingrid watched it once, and you've watched it once.
Ish. Two times.
Two
times. I went through it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we didn't share our insights, and it's very interesting to see that. Yeah. Everyone has a very different perspective and how each one of our brains really are different and see things very differently. So this is very interesting. I never thought about this. This is
I
great.
thought like when it was happening, I thought about that. That actually it might be like that, or even the scene towards the end when they're like they're saving him from the police car and so on, and then he stands in front of everyone, and it's just kind of like he got his chance to shine, because in his head from the beginning of the movie you can see how he is inventing, in that scene when he's imagining that he's on a comedy show and then he's being praised, and then like kind of, I'm so special, and like someone has discovered this about me and stuff, because he has a very small social circle, right? He has virtually no friends. He spends time with his mom and then the guys at the comedy, like the clowns that he works with, right? So it's just kind of in his head that thing where all of a sudden people are discovering who I really am, and I think like to a certain extent, if we're thinking about like how things work in society, we all probably have that in our head, where you just
want to be seen.
We just want to be seen and stuff. And then there's also that bit, like the other thing that I kept thinking, his reaction, like when he gives out the cards to people to say when he starts laughing so do you think that was fake?
No.
Or you think that was like,
I think that was 100% real.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was heartbreaking to see how the woman reacted as well.
Yeah.
Because if you think about
in
it,
the
like,
bus,
exactly. Like even before the child was laughing, so why would you react like this to?
Yeah. And also the police did ask him, like, is this real or not?
Yeah.
So it's almost like, so he has a mental condition condition that was created due to a trauma, but it's an actual condition. And not even the police can treat that with respect, and that's very damaging, because actually we see this in society when people have ADHD or anything that, because we cannot see it doesn't mean that it's not there. And a lot of people really just don't sit down and listen what's happening to the other person, which I think was very much exaggerated in this movie. Exactly the point that you're saying. Like, we just want to be seen to a certain extent, but then I feel that this was taken with him to a bigger level, almost to emphasize how, regardless him having a mental issue or not,
how people
society at the moment, we're made to, we want to be seen, but no one is seeing us, and is not listening to us. And it's even worse if you have a mental condition where you really need the support.
And I think it boils down to that, like, everyone wants to be heard and listened and understood, and everyone craves connection, right? But then it's like, even that the point where he goes and talks to the therapist, but she's there like being paid to not actually to do her job, or like what's her job, to listen to him, but is she actually really listening to him? And I think he says something like,
you never listen. And even after he says this, she still doesn't listen to him. She doesn't react to what he's saying at all. She's just continuing his point. And then she states, they don't care about people like you or like me, but like you said, she doesn't mention us. It's just like
separate.
They have this thing in common, like.
And then again, it goes back to the way things are in society right now, and it's very divisive, and it's very like us versus them, instead of like, if you don't agree with someone's opinion, you straight away like, okay, dismiss the person as if they don't have a valid input, because you don't agree with their opinion. But actually, if you were to really listen and stuff, you might learn a thing or two from
someone else. Something that I found very interesting, that so when we were watching it, I watched it separately, but then Ingrid and I watched it together, but I didn't say anything to Ingrid about the movie. And as the movie started and he started showing some of the patterns, so Ingrid is a neuroscientist and specializes in criminology. And so as he's going through some of the patterns. Why you laugh?
So like, take the compliment, goddammit.
It's a factual thing. It's a factual thing. So as is happening, the first thing that Ingrid says is like, Victoria, does this guy has had a bad father, or like a rough childhood? Was he abused? And I was like, I'm not gonna say anything, just keep watching it. So why do you think this, and what was your take on this movie, on this part of the movie?
First of all, because obviously you can see from the beginning, like, he's like a people pleaser, and you can see like he doesn't fit into society. So my first thought was he had a childhood trauma, and and then I think it was at the beginning, when his colleague gave him the gun, he says something to him like, oh, you're my boy, and you can see how happy it made him to say that. Like, oh, so I thought maybe like he didn't have a father figure, and he's missing that, and I feel like he's sort of looking for that. And then you can see how much he loves Marty, the guy on the comedy show as well. So I linked it with the missing father in his childhood, which turned out to be true. And I think, like, in the movie, his mom seemed like a really good person, like, oh no, I want you to be happy, blah blah, really supportive. But then I think it's actually she sort of didn't let him be independent, and she's sort of using him to make her feel better, if that makes sense. Yeah.
But then that goes back to her own issues,
because
so,
when he was reading the file, I couldn't believe she actually has a mental illness. I was thinking maybe it's in his head. But it turns out to be true, and it makes sense.
What about because there's a shift that you can see that he goes from that people pleaser, right? And he's abused, and he already seems to he's been abused so much that even when he's been kicked the 2 times, he already knows where to put his hands. Now you can see he's prepared for that to happen, and I think we can assume that it has happened before many times.
Well,
which
based on that file.
And then he defends himself, but then the other guy, the third guy, he actively goes and shoots him. And then I feel like after that, he goes through like the whole, like, it's almost like, not like a reborn, but he starts reassessing himself, and he comes back with a massive confidence. He kisses the woman, which is not real at the end. Sorry. You didn't get that part of it. But, and there's this starting to understand himself, and then breaking pattern from society. So what do you think about, and then then he kills the two only people in his circle, and it's almost like he's completely breaking and changing himself. What do you think about that? And then also we have the scene with the fridge, I think, which is all ties together. So what do you guys think about that?
So because I think he realizes like the world is chaos and you just no more rules, blah blah. He ends up killing the 2 like most important people in his life, because they say you get what you deserve. So I think he just realizes there's no rules, there's just like, because it's just when you love someone, obviously you wouldn't go to shoot him, but I think he turns into like no rules, I just do sort of what I think is right, and if you deserve this, you're gonna.
So almost he becomes the judge, and the executor. Is that how it's called, executor? The judge and the executor.
Because I think it's like, in a way, it gets to the point where he's giving himself permission to, like, embracing all the little, even the, like, before he goes on stage, he has this thing with the dance, and like he's always perfecting the moves, and how he's kind of like, because before he goes on the show, he's kind of like starting to, okay, so how do I sit, blah blah. So like that is all back to the power posing in a way, right, and the dance and everything, because then like this becomes part of his personality, and this is like how he will show up and dancing and stuff. And he definitely makes some compelling points, like at the end before he shoots Murray. But I like, it goes back to the thing, like and then also on the other hand, like he loses that, he said, like, his empathy. Right?
But does it,
like,
though? Because he cares for the guy that he didn't care. So does he really lose his empathy?
Maybe like for certain people, like for the people who he feels, because it's all about like whoever supports him in his new, like, he's this new person now and stuff like that. So whoever supports him, those people get to be part of the journey, but whoever doesn't support him, it's like, that's it. I'm kind of in a way forgetting about all of that.
Like you mentioned the scene with where he kills his co-worker, and then he lets the other one. Because they're like, and even he kisses the guy on the forehead or something like that. And it's like, oh, I love you, Marie. Not Marie, what's his name? Forgot. But the
guy who was not killed.
But yeah, like that scene, like he's going to the door and helping him open the door because he can't reach, and the guy is completely freaking out, but actually he doesn't want to kill him. So, yeah. And also, like, at the end,
I'm gonna sneeze. I'm about to sneeze. I'm like holding my sneeze. Sorry.
Do you think he kills the woman at the end?
I don't know.
Because he's like walking and has blood on his, like, he.
Oh, at the end, the last woman.
Totally, right?
Yeah, totally. Because she would be someone that's against the like system that he wants.
Because
because something that I found interesting is that I do think that he loses empathy, and then we'll talk in a second about nurture versus nature. But I do think that he loses the empathy, and then he gets into this higher level where he's like, I'll embrace the chaos, which is
Yeah.
what Ingrid was saying, and I will decide who lives, who dies,
Yeah.
and how things work, because society is the one that's deciding it. Why can I not decide
Yeah.
it? And then he gets that confidence, so he's dancing and
yeah,
power
yeah.
posing and the makeup, which is like this mask of like, I actually
Yeah.
like how some people put on certain colors of dresses. Like I particularly feel more comfortable when I'm wearing black.
But that's the thing, we
And
all do
it's
it,
how-
right?
Yeah.
It's part of.
But what I find very interesting is that, so you have this guy that has his higher, develop his higher moral, and then you have the scene of Bruce Wayne, who's Batman, who's also the higher moral, and he's actually accepted by society in a way, depending on on which episode or what you're reading. But at some points Gotham hates him, at some point Gotham likes him.
Yeah.
But this kid, his parents get murdered in front of him, and he doesn't even flinch.
Yeah.
So this is like a bit farther. It's not in the movie, but I think that points out potentially to another person that is like him, because Batman and the Joker has always been like the yin and yang and the side by side. And I remember there's at some point that he says, "You don't exist without me." He's almost like, and he's like a constant in Batman's life. And I found it very interesting that they made it that when the parents get killed, he doesn't even move. And I think that's actually a way to point out that contrast of these two guys are the same, but they're going to be seen different by society. One, because he's a rich guy, and the other one, exactly what he said when he shot Murray, because if you see me down the street, you're not going to even peep, you're not going to even look at me, but the guys that are rich, you will. So I actually think that very small part was that, or at least that's what I thought it was, because clearly he also has some sort of, like Batman has some sort of lack of empathy, and Batman also has this feeling of having a higher sense of purpose of self. Like if he's the judge, he doesn't necessarily kill people depending on what comic you're reading, but it's the same thing. And it's a vigilante that goes in. So I thought it was a very good point, at least I thought. But what do you think about him? Like nurture or nature? Could this have been prevented, do you think?
No, I think definitely, I want to say, because like if you look at the way he was, he didn't have, he wasn't nurtured, right? As a kid, he was like he was abused, he was neglected and everything. And then like you grow up like this is like, who the hell you trust, right? You trust no one. And then you have no sense of like right or wrong, although that's subjective, of course, but then you have no sense of that. You have no sense of like values and morals and stuff like that. So then you grow up, and you also grow up being like the awkward one, the weird one, like an outcast. So
and it gives reinforced.
And reinforces that belief, and then the way people look at you, and the way people and we kind of do that. We do that, like, although we like to admit it or not. But we do that. We always respond in a certain way because we're so used to our own, the way you are brought up and the way you behave as well as influenced by that, right? So whenever you see someone who's different, then you tend to, unless you really train yourself and you really like analyze this from this perspective, and next time you meet someone who's completely different than you, then kind of be like, okay, maybe this person,
because we have biases, and we have to make a conscious effort.
For me, like 100% this could have been prevented. I think it's just showing how a murder is created in a way. And if you think about the scene when his mom was young, and the doctor or nurse or whatever is saying, no, like he's not your child, first of all, and he was tied up to a radiator and everything was beaten up, and all she says is, no, but he's such a happy boy. So
he's such a quiet boy or something, she said.
But I think he always said, like, no, you're here to put a smile on other people's faces and you're happy. And I think he's just growing up with this idea, I have this purpose in life to make people happy no matter how I feel, and I'm just a happy boy, I have to put a happy face. So I think that turns into the clown career as well. So
and then people not listening to him ever, but and people,
I think it's just he's used to it, like you said, when he's beaten up, he's okay, maybe this is instinct to cover your head and other parts, but at the same time he doesn't try
React.
to run away,
Yeah.
doesn't try to kick back.
Yeah.
So I think he's just
It's like
grew
patterns, right?
Yeah.
That your brain
Yeah.
kind of builds,
You just-
and then
yeah. And
like
then you
no
react
one
in the
shows
same
you
way.
how to
Yeah.
change the pattern. So then
Yeah.
like time goes by and you're acting according to those
Yeah.
patterns. Because this is all, like, it's a belief, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a belief system, and you grow up trying to make sense of everything, but you have no support from the
Yeah.
outside world to help you make sense of that. So
But I think it's something that we all go, like we grew up with something, and then
yeah,
unless
a
you want to
belief
make
system.
a conscious change, and then you try to analyze yourself, we could all end up like
But that's
like
assuming
not in the same situation.
you have a
obviously, but,
healthy
like,
mind, right?
yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
So one thing that I found interesting is there's been several studies in for serial killers. And I think they've been trying to see what makes a serial killer. So there've been several things. You have someone that kills animals when they're kids, fire starters, and it has been modified over and over again.
Yeah.
To now there's something around the fact of like, well, your amygdala is smaller, your prefrontal cortex is has more activity, and your heart rate is lower. And this is people that is for them harder to experience adrenaline experiences. So they experience fears differently, and they experience fear and nervousness. They experience it differently. But then that's one thing, that's biological. But then you have the psychological one, which is the part where they say like you've been either abused by a family member or by someone. And they don't say sexually abused in the movie, but they do say abused.
Yeah.
And you have the trauma, and then you have this environment that is all toxic, right? So I think that because yes, potentially could have been prevented to a certain level if at least people had listened to him and he would have a different environment. He could have had all these elements, but then once you added all these extra bits, then he becomes...
You're talking about, the nature.
Because you can have two people that have the same condition, but one becomes a serial killer and the other one doesn't become a serial killer. And I think that is the thing that we're talking about, that he's pushed to be what he is, and then he accepts himself, which is then he removed the empathy, which we don't know if he had it or not, really. Because he could have been conditioned to have empathy and to feel that he had to make people happy, but it doesn't mean that he actually felt happiness through that. Because he said, I've never felt happy in my life. And I think it could have been because of that, because he was doing it because he had to, not because he actually felt happiness through it. So what can we take away from this then? What do you think we can tell people?
How shall we end this, basically?
One more thing I want to ask you, regarding the fridge.
Oh, the fridge!
It's like a 3-second scene, but I think it's quite powerful, and people have different opinions about it. So what do you guys think?
So in a way, I thought of it as his like way of comforting himself. So like an escape, because you're in there, you're on your own and stuff like that. So it's just like, it's a way of, because he's doing it in a house that is shared with his mom, right? And it's a small apartment, so there's no way to go and be on your own, sort of thing. So that's
Okay. Yeah, people have been saying like similar stuff. It's like the outside world is cold and dark. So that's why he goes into the fridge. My
fridge is
what do
also
you
cold.
My view on it was I thought about self-harm, because usually people like I get that he wants to run away, but being cold, like, it's actually obviously you're suffering. So my first thought was just a way of self-harm, because of the depression.
It's also like when because then if you put yourself into a situation where that is challenging, it's a way of overcoming fears. So what did you
What did I think?
What did you think about it?
Honestly, I didn't give it a massive thought.
Thought,
I
yeah.
thought he's sad, he's upset, he's fed up with the world. He just wants to
Yeah.
hide in a little dark corner.
Yeah.
But then, if I put it together with everything else, I think it is kind of like a reborn. But I think
Like
that
a
reborn started the moment
Yeah.
he shoots
Yeah.
the other guy on purpose,
Yeah.
like actively shot
Yeah,
him and
yeah,
killed him.
Yeah.
Because he didn't only kill him, he got close and killed
And
him,
yeah.
which is even more personal.
Yeah.
He shot a few times, I think.
And then
as
yeah,
well,
and then he just
yeah.
approaches that,
Yeah.
so that close range, that is way more personal.
Yeah.
And
And powerful as well, right? It just makes you as kind of like, okay, I have the power now, and I am able to do this, and I want
Yeah.
to do it, and yeah.
but I mean, like, because he goes from he's not able to properly hold a gun to like, I'm used to like holding a gun is.
Yeah.
So have you ever held a gun, like
I
an actual gun that
yes.
can kill someone?
Yes,
It's hard.
How does that make you feel? Because I actually
It's
freaked
tired.
out.
Yeah.
Like I didn't like freak out, but I was
And
I was
the
doing
noise.
it, and I had my dad next to me, and I was like, oh my god, this can kill a person. And it's like this massive respect and,
Yeah.
and almost like fear of this, like these things can kill people. And I was like, I didn't want to, because like if I do something, I'm super clumsy, so I was like, if I do something wrong, I'm gonna kill someone here. This was in the US, and I was like, so, and I'm a person that doesn't feel
Fear.
some one of those
Very
people that
often.
doesn't feel fear very often. I have small, big, blah, 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 all those things.
So yeah.
So, never serial killer. But,
as far as we
but
know.
that really like, because is that feeling of, so it's not easy.
Yeah.
So what was your experience?
Yeah, like mine was like the same. You're kind of freaking out, and you think like it's such a huge responsibility, but also
Exactly.
like the noise that it makes. And if you think of like, we only come to in this world with two fears: the fear of falling forward and fear of loud noises. So that's something that's actually not learned, but it was like, so yeah. So that was a bit. It was quite apprehensive.
Yeah.
But I think
Because
at the
that
same
is a
time, it's quite
responsibility,
cool
that's what
once
you're
you-
saying.
Once you handle it, yeah. Yeah.
I loved it. I felt so powerful. Yeah, but I think for me it was different because I was in a shot.
Like in a-
I was
like
in
a
a
shooting range.
I was
Yeah.
also in a shooting
Thank
range.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was. I could like there was no one there, so
Oh.
I just
No, in the US. In the US,
Oh,
at least
you're talking
in
about
Florida,
yeah.
is a shooting range is and it's like completely open. And I had a Glock, so like a small one, and then a little machine gun.
Oh, wow.
I don't know which one it was.
Okay.
It was an AK or something. I don't know.
Oh.
So I
We're
tried
getting
those
into
two.
the specifics.
So the guys on the other, they had their own guns, and they were gigantic. So I was thinking, one of these guys go crazy and he starts shooting people, like totally feasible. Like
Yeah,
someone
well,
makes a
next to people,
mistake,
yeah.
falls out. I don't know. Like it was super
Yeah,
open.
no, but it is true. Yeah.
I had an instructor next to me
Okay.
who was an ex-cop, so maybe
They
that's
don't
why I
even
like.
give you an instruction.
Oh no, you're not.
They're
allowed.
like,
So
here
maybe-
you go. I'm like, I never
maybe
touched
that's
one of
why.
these.
Oh, all right. Okay.
But
yeah.
I loved it, and I just want to be the best. But,
Oh, that's very
Okay.
that's very competitive of you.
the best with myself. No, but you had
Yeah, so you had the
number.
shooting range, so then
Yeah.
you was like
Yeah.
aiming, and then you kind of bring
the police said I was a natural.
Wow.
The policeman. Yeah, so I loved it, but yeah, I get what you mean.
You're like, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
You suck at it. That's what you. But yeah, so
Yeah, okay.
point being that it is difficult unless you're talented, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But and he went from that to like, but it's like really close. It's not easy. Like it's not in our DNA to kill someone else, and he did it like that.
Really? I thought you would, like, not that it's not in our, yeah, but I felt like in situations where you're like in life or death.
Oh, but that's
like,
different.
Yeah, but like this was something like to the point where, because this is the point where he's getting again beaten up, right?
Yeah. I feel
So
like
then,
No, but like
first
at
one
the
was-
end.
oh,
yeah.
you're talking about the
The first two ones, yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
okay, self-defense.
Yeah,
Oh,
self-defense.
you're talking about the
third
guy.
Yeah. So he was not a threat anymore. He was
Yeah.
like crawling, obviously.
Yeah,
he was
but-
trying to escape, and he just took joy, I think, out of it.
But
And
definitely.
that's the moment where he felt like powerful.
Yeah, because I think this is exactly, he gets to the point where he feels like this is, he's stepped into his
Yeah.
power sort of thing,
Yeah.
and this is what he does, and yeah, why the hell not kill that guy?
Yeah.
I know.
You get what it is.
I just saw the image.
He was like awful.
Okay, so
What
wrapping this up. You go.
Empathy is key in this movie, and that's why we wanted to talk a little bit about it, because we tend to, it happens if you see someone that's homeless. It happens when we talk about refugees, for example, just using the words refugee, we tend to ignore people and not converse and ask questions. So we've done some training, for example, with people that have refugee status. And I really absolutely hate the word refugee because it completely removes the human part. And then we've had people asking or saying things like, oh, are they going to have a phone? And they're not realizing, for example, that because we're using this word, they're exactly as us, but it's people that are running away from the country. So it's anyone, any situation that you have, because it's not your personal fault, you have to go. And this happened in so many levels. It happens with mental health. It happens with grouping people. When you talk about immigrants, when you talk about anything that clusters people in something negative, and we need to really stop and think. And if you feel that, I think that if you feel that you're clustering someone in a group, homeless people, whatever it is, go and talk to someone from that cluster, and really the assumptions that you have, test them. And I'm willing to bet now that a lot of them are going to be wrong, unless you had asked the questions.
Definitely.
Yeah. I feel the same. We're supposed to have like each.
I'm not. Don't go killing people. What's your learn how to use it?
Yeah. I think empathy is the main thing. Obviously, just I think it's just the labeling stuff, because we see it everywhere. For example, on my newsfeed on my social media, everything that's linked to the word refugees, people on a boat, people who come from a certain country, and it's all you see. So I think just like you said, like stop for me and just try to see like
past your biases,
and understand and understand what's going on, because this guy has his laugh, and it could be ADHD, it could be autism,
I think the mental illness that he has is not very common, so I think they maybe did it on purpose, because you're less likely to take it seriously, because you're like, no, what is this, like, because you don't hear about it.
You don't see it very
but
often,
the same
right?
mentally that he has, it doesn't have to be a laugh, it could be a crying behavior. So I think it's just like stop for a second, listen to people, and try to sort of understand what they're going through, and basically
and let them
be less judgmental. Yeah, exactly. And I think different is always good. So,
definitely. And like to the point, like I don't know what to add to that, because I agree with both of you, and I was feeling the same thing. But I guess just the core idea to instead of thinking of us versus them, to kind of to try and overcome your own biases, or at least think about them, or at least make it, you try more intentionally. I think I actually, this word for me, I can talk from my own experience, because there were certain topics where if I go into religion, or don't want to go there, but or like a lot of the topics, and then like mental health as well, or the things that you guys mentioned with refugees, homeless, if we go into that like deep, you kind of realize that you might have different opinions, but just because your opinion is different, it doesn't mean that you're right or wrong, or the other person is right or wrong. So it's always a good exercise to try and understand where the other person is coming from. So again, like you go back to, and that's what empathy is. It's not empathy takes away the judgment. Empathy takes away the you're trying to control a certain outcome, or you're trying to make yourself feel better and stuff. It's all about listening, and sometimes you can't really do more than that, but actually just listening is very powerful. And I was actually I was commenting on so someone shared a blog post with quotes that she wrote, and actually I was commenting on one related to listening to people. I think Dalai Lama said something along the lines if I talk, I only know my opinion. If I listen to other people, I might learn something new. So I guess it's
it's the same reason why we have one mouth and 2 ears.
Yeah.
I love that. That's really cool.
Yeah. And I think we should do a lot more listening than talking. And
have people to call you out as well, and be open to be called out. We do this, I think, with each other naturally. Because we get loads of different people, loads of different situations. We do a lot of behavioral change, so we're gonna get all types of people. And the moment someone has an opinion, then Yoni or Ingrid will go and say, "Oh, actually, I think that this is because of that," and then you go like, "Oh, actually, yeah," and have someone to call you out, and also listen to the other person.
Thank you so much for watching this or listening to it. And we hope that some of the points were helpful, and we look forward to hearing back from you. So if you have any comments, we would love to hear your thoughts.
Different opinions
are always encouraged.
We're here to listen.
Anything that you notice or you have questions, just drop it in the comments or let us know or email us, and we'll be happy to potentially do a podcast or do a little video afterwards.
Discuss. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.